Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Much appreciate you guys taking some time to watch the video, always appreciated. And today I'm going to give a message to the people out there that may be intimidated by technology and fishing. We've talked about it a lot on this channel. I think it's a topic well worth discussing as far as sort of the mental and emotional effects that exploding technology is having for people that don't want to and can't afford, whatever reason it is, to keep up with it. So I've got some opinions on that. I'm gonna run that by you guys. You might find it interesting there. Real quick, guys, just want to remind you, we're just about out of time. We just got a couple more days left on the March Solar Bat sunglass sale. My signature series RB2 sunglasses. You can get them 25% off in the month of March. And with every $100 purchase, you get a grab bag full of sunglasses with them. So, man, we've only got like 2 days left. I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description if you guys want to get you some before the sale runs out. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, let's get into this a little bit here. A lot of the people that are on my channel, that subscribe to the channel, they're sort of like-minded with me. I'm going to guess that probably 80% of subscribers or more that I get out there, they sort of are on my side when it comes to technology. If you guys have watched the channel very long, very aware of my stance on it. But what I want to talk about today is the more vocal that I become about the drawbacks and dangers and misfortune of increasing technology in our fishing, the more messages I get from people, the more comments I get. Every single day, I get emails, I get comments, I get private messages, every single day, dozens and dozens of messages about people saying about how they're just sick of it. They're tired of it. They just don't want it anymore. They don't want to keep up with it. They don't want to learn it. It's just not fishing to them. And the point of this video is I want to sort of talk to those people a little bit and give you guys some tips and advice on maybe how to deal with that. Let me tell you a little story first. I'm gonna sort of tell you what the story that is all. It's not a story. It's something that I did that has really stood the test of time as far as my perception of fishing. I had a chance to become very good friends with Jerry McInnes. Most people that watch this know who Jerry is. He was, with the Fish and Hole television show for a year, part owner of Bass. He had the JM production company. And during the late 90s and early 2000s, I became very close friends with him. Went on vacation with him, spent time personally with him. And one of the trips Jerry and I took, we floated the White River down by his home in Cotter, Arkansas, one time down there. And I had grew up watching Jerry as a little kid. I grew up watching him. So being able to float the White River with Jerry McInnes was an honor, to say the least. And I'll never forget that. We launched, he had a little dock at the bottom of his house there. He had a home up above the White River there in Arkansas. And he had one of those river john boats, one of those long, skinny river john boats. And we spent the day drifting down the White River. And I can't tell you how just soothing and therapeutic and relaxing this was. We drifted through the clear smells of the river, eagles and ospreys and hawks everywhere, drifting through the northern Arkansas, not really wilderness, but mountain areas, undeveloped, just beautiful, man. Just hearing the water tap against the side of the boat, and we were throwing like little Rapala minnows and catching brown trout and rainbow trout, and just kick back, man, just really relaxing. And I got thinking about how, man, this is what fishing is about right here. It's just like when you take everything else away from it in its purest form, when you're closest to nature and closest to the fish, there's nothing more therapeutic and healing than what Jerry and I were doing that way. And Jerry had a real philosophical way of looking at fishing. He really appreciated that simplicity and being out there, and you could just see he loved it. So that is like fishing at one of its most simple forms. Now, the point of what that story there, right? It's like, let's go to the opposite now, where everybody out there, you see they've got 6 graphs on their boat. Uh, it's impossible to win a tournament unless you're live scoping anymore. Tournaments do not get won by traditional fishing methods. It's all done with $30,000 worth of electronics on your boat. And for a large percentage of the bass fishermen out there, they're intimidated by that technology. They're not only they're intimidated, they're irritated by it. They're just fed up with having to keep up with it. They don't want to keep up with it. And the message that I have for you guys is a couple of different things here. First of all, you don't have to keep up with it. You don't have to do that. You can just, you're not going to get left behind on anything out there. If anybody's getting left behind in this electronics discussion we've had, it's the people that it's the people that are beginning to use forward-facing sonar as a crutch in their fishing. Those are the people that are getting left behind in terms of missing out on the intrinsic value of what fishing is. In other words, what I'm saying here, do not feel like you have to get on the bandwagon, because you don't. One of the great things about fishing, and bass fishing in particular, is that everybody has their own imagination and creativity and way that they approach fishing. And you can be highly successful at it without going in and using that technology, because not every fish in the lake out there is roaming around chasing shad schools that you have to live scope for. There's always a population of fish in any body of water that is catchable by traditional bass fishing means. And one of the things that you can tell yourself is that you do not fish, you're not going to fish for those particular fish that are out there. You're going to fish for the fish that you want to catch. And the fact in bass fishing that everybody has abilities uniquely of their own should be extremely comforting to you, because there's a couple people I know that send me messages a lot that fish around here locally, and I'll talk about fishing Table Rock or Stockton or Grand Lake or whatever, and they'll tell me about how they're catching fish, just weekend fishermen, not tournament fishermen, and they try stuff that I never would have thought. Send me pictures of big bass they're catching on stuff that I never would have thought. So, your energies can be better put into creativity and imagination as far as approaching that type of water versus feeling like you got to get sucked into the technology craze like that. And it's a lot of it has to do with it's a little bit of self-introspection there. That's why in general the older anglers are more resistant to technology, because I think what happens is a lot of the older anglers, as you get older, you tend to be a little bit more introspective and self-reflective and historical. And I don't mean like living in the past. What I mean is you realize that certain things are more valuable. It's just like when you get older. One of the things you realize about getting older, guys, is how valuable your old friends are. Because one of the things that I've noticed, like at going to these BFL tournaments I'm fishing, I'm seeing some guys that I haven't seen for 30, 35 years. Guys that I've been friends with for over 35 years. And when you meet those people and you see those people, there's a camaraderie that comes with that. It's like it's almost like an old war buddy or something like that. You know what that other person has been through in the trenches of the sport for 30 years, and you've been through it. So when you see somebody like that, there's like this, as you get older, there's this common respect for the fact that you're still here and you're still doing that. It's hard to explain until you guys will know what I'm talking about when you get older a little bit with that. And from that standpoint, one of the things that you can take advantage of as far as not being sucked into technology is to really benefit from the other aspects of fishing that have nothing to do with technology. When you talk about the aesthetic value of fishing and the intrinsic value of fishing, you're talking about the aspects of fishing that bring you closer to nature, that help heal you on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. Guys, I'm here to tell you right now, if live scoping and forward-facing sonar, there's no intrinsic value in fishing. There's no mental, spiritual, and physical therapeutic element to that. When you're staring at a virtual screen, you remove yourself from that completely. You remove yourself from the sights and sound and taste and smell of nature and the natural world that you're around. And make no mistake about it, guys, if you fish and you cut yourself off from nature that you're immersed in there, you're just not getting it. You're not getting what fishing is really meant to be. And you can say that's an opinion, but the opinion is based upon what drew people to fishing initially. I mean, initially, people started fishing to survive and to eat fish. Then it became a recreational pursuit. Then it became something people did out of relaxation. And it's morphed into competition, fairly recently in the bigger picture out there. So, as one of the things, guys, I'll tell you here, I've been in the trenches for almost 40 years in the sport. I am burned out on traveling, guys. I have fished every major lake in the country. I have driven several million miles. If you figure figure it up, I've averaged 50,000 miles of driving for the past 40 years. I don't know what that equates to, but I've had way too much road time. And I can tell you from being a professional angler and being in 9 Bassmasters Classics and winning Bassmaster tournaments and being in Forest Wood Cups and being immersed in the sport on every single level. I've literally been on every single level of the sport. There's nothing that can touch that peace and tranquility of like drifting the river with Jerry McInnes. I mean, I've stood up on the Bassmasters Classic stage and almost won the Bassmasters Classic one time, got 3rd place. That does not hold a candle to things like floating that river with Jerry or wading creeks or fishing ponds or stuff like that really had a close, intimate connection to the fish. And one of the tragedies that I see in fishing is a lot of the younger generation, they've been cut off from that a little bit. They haven't cut their teeth wading creeks and sneaking into farm ponds. They went straight from being 13, 14, 15 years old to jumping in a $100,000 bass boat and staring at a live scope. And there's sort of like at that point it sort of becomes a clinical, like a sterilized clinical controlled environment that alienates people from what fishing really is. So the point of the video, guys, is you can have a great time fishing. You can catch a lot of fish. You can be successful on whatever level that you want, to some extent, by just rejecting technology. You do not have to have it. I can promise you guys, there are people out there right now that you could put a 50-year-old Humminbird flasher on the front and back of their boat and take their GPS off, and they're still going to qualify for the Bassmaster Classic or whatever. So it can still be done. It's becoming more difficult, but it can still be done. So point is, guys, is if you're one of those people out there, and I know there are thousands, tens of thousands of bass fishermen that can relate to what I'm saying here. If you feel like you're intimidated, or if you get a little bit depressed about the exploding technology, don't be, guys. Just do your own thing, focus on fishing, focus on what's important in fishing, and just ignore, don't even try to keep up with it, because you do not have to keep up with it and you will be better off as a result. I can promise you guys, when you're 95 years old, if you're fortunate to live that long, and you're sitting there laying in your deathbed, you're not going to remember those days on the lake when you were live scoping fish with an A-rig looking at the screen. You're going to remember those days like I had with Jerry McInnes floating that river and, being immersed in nature with it. That's what you're going to remember. So just take that in a little bit and think about that. So anyway, just wanted to have that little discussion there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you later.